And we are live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness. This evening we find Lily. I'm not even going to pronounce her last name because I butcher it every time, but the de facto demon tyrant. Lately, the Rabisu has been rather unhappy with the state of affairs as far as the werewolves' recent incursions into demon territory. As such, she conveyed that she wished to speak with the current leader of the Sept of Green, otherwise known as Jasper. Jasper, upon getting this information, was a bit aghast, in a manner of speaking, that someone would ask for an audience him in such a direct way. But in the end, a text was sent back to Lily's phone, informing her of a location on the upper west side, in an old fish cannery. It's long since been abandoned, and it's more of a storage place for the Sept, where they store various things like vans and gardening tools and food and clothes, things that the Sept might need but doesn't necessarily have room for in the park. Jasper sits outside on the loading dock, smoking a hand-rolled cigarette, waiting, and looks down at his watch. It's about 5 minutes before the requested meeting time.
Mm, Lily, sitting in a coffee shop together with her fellow demons near Central Park, looks at her phone, gets a text, stands up, and just basically walks outside without saying much more than, I need some fresh air. And okay, I rolled a fate die. Oh, right, yeah. I rolled a fate dice to determine if she would be late or would be on time. She's actually on
It's
time.
probably early
Yay.
at this point. I'll say
Yeah,
that,
well,
that
it's
would be
more
early.
like remember that flaw that I have, like no sense of time. So
Oh,
I
right.
decided to make it a fate dice roll at this
Okay,
point, and
fair
yay,
enough.
the dice were in my favor now. So at least she's on time. As she walks to the Upper West, was it?
The Upper West Side, yeah.
Yeah, Upper West Side. As she walks that way, she takes a good time to at least activate her thick hide, because she doesn't want to come off as threatening, but still, she damn well knows what a werewolf can do, especially probably, although she hasn't met the guy, an alpha. So she walks into that direction. She doesn't quite know what to expect. She has no description of this guy, and she doesn't know if he would recognize her. So she walks towards the location, and she's checking it out, standing in front of it. And what is this, like a bar or something, or if it's
It's kind of like an old factory, in a manner of speaking.
okay.
It's got an old fence that's opened, obviously, so she can actually get in. In the front, it's basically just kind of, your basic building front. There's an office and, you know, a front area, and then there's actually a side area where you can see like old semi, um, like cargo trailers
Mhm.
parked up against loading bays, and then there's an area that's actually kind of like the loading dock for smaller trucks, and that's actually where Jasper is sitting.
Okay. So she will walk up to this building and checking out whether she can actually see or see anyone. She doesn't know who he's gonna bring. if he's gonna bring anyone. So she looks around to see if there's a familiar face or any face at all.
As she looks around, when she comes around the side, she'll see sort of the grizzled form of somebody just more or less sitting in what looks to be an old plush chair that's been sitting out on that dock for some time. It's weathered and frayed. But there's an older gentleman sitting there with a cigarette in his mouth, sort of leaning forward slightly, his feet set just underneath him, his arms resting on his knees.
Lily, she nods to herself, and before she's actually gonna walk in, she's gonna take a deep breath as she's trying to recall all those lessons that her father taught her on how to respect those who are older and usually wiser, although she's not quite sure if that's the case in this particular case. It still could never hurt to be polite, especially since she's here alone and she doesn't have those more socially capable. So she walks up and she stops at about 5 paces away from this person.
He seems... Jasper sort of raises a brow at her, but he's still kind of just looking down at his hands, and he seems almost disinterested. But he takes one last drag off the cigarette, just holding it with 2 fingers, and then finally flicks it off to the side as he exhales, and he steps up from the couch and walks to the edge of the loading dock and kind of hops down from it, so he's standing in front of Lily. And he's a large guy. He's not small by any means, and he actually he has a physically impressive hint merit. He looks like a big dude, and he looks like he's very easily capable of damage in that respect. But he, for the most part, just kind of leans back against one of the sort of iron support posts and crosses his arms. I take it that you're Lily.
Well, you have that correct, and Lily says as she does look up to him since she is rather small. And I take it you are the Alpha? You're Alpha son?
Close enough, yeah. I was informed that you wanted to me.
Yes, that's correct.
Alright then.
Are you aware of the fact that our 2 families, our 2 species, whatever you want to call it, have an agreement with each other?
Someone told me that my predecessors made some agreements with various different creatures out there, most of which I have yet to meet. I don't really plan on meeting any of them if I can avoid it. As you might have guessed, we're somewhat insular in the park.
Well, I can understand that feeling. Not necessarily too fond of a lot of others, but from time to time we have to deal with them. Do you know the details of this agreement?
Go ahead and fill me in on what you believe.
Lily is, she's actually gonna lean against, well, whatever there is that she can lean against. She places her hands behind her head and she sighs, and she doesn't at all seems to be frightened. Well, the agreement was that we would not enter Central Park, and you would not enter the Bronx. Any of our groups that would harm this particular agreement will be punished by their elders.
I still don't get what you're getting at. You haven't entered the park, and I'm guessing that you're trying to claim that my people walked into your territory.
Twice.
Hmm.
Though the first time was with our permission, it was said that that would be an exception. The second time, however, there was a call which basically said we're coming in no matter what. I decided to accompany those of your kind to make sure that they wouldn't mess things up. They... Not quite sure how to say this. They didn't necessarily mess things up, but not to brag, if I wasn't there, they might have. Anyway, first time, fine. My elder at that time agreed to it, and I can let it slide. Second time, however, is an issue.
What exactly are you asking?
I'm asking you to honor our original accord.
You know, that's an interesting thing, and he picks up his finger and he just starts sort of gesturing it up in the air. I keep hearing about all these accords, all these things that were made, all these agreements that were made before I got here. Where is this person that you made an accord with? Is that person still around?
I do not know. I do not care much about where your people are, as long as it's not in the Bronx.
What I'm asking is, you had an agreement between one person and the other. Now, I know for a fact that the person that you made an agreement with, but aren't, ain't here anymore. So what about on your end?
Circumstances required her to leave.
Alright. So, where we stand right now, then, is that the evil party that made this pact are no longer around.
Yes. That is correct. But is it therefore null and void?
Depends on how you want to look at things. Now, I was informed that my people went to the Bronx to deal with a situation that involved one of our people, one of our close relatives.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you know, but your name's come up a time or two before in dealings that I've had. But you didn't know that, did you?
I guess my name comes up rather often.
Right. Now, on one end, you took someone or a creature, let's say, just for your sensibility. You took a creature that more or less belonged to us, like family to us. You took it away. Now, there are...
I did not take it away.
You'll let me finish. There are people within the
No.
park that might look at that as kidnapping. Now, I usually tend to agree with them, but my counterpart decided to make a judgment call, and what he did probably worked out for the best. It meant that no heads had to get busted.
Hmm. May I first tell you that I protected this creature, as I understood from one of your tribe. I don't know if you call it like that, one of your people, that if I would send this creature along with him into Central Park, it would get killed. I did not want that. I did not try to save his life, only to get it killed by its own species.
How much do you know about how things are run in our society?
Hmm. I can only guess.
Alright, let me ask you another question. How much do you know what was afflicting that creature?
I heard an evil spirit.
Yeah.
We got rid of it.
All people within our circles, the way we deal with those sort of things. If that creature couldn't have been saved, putting it down, so to speak, would have been a mercy and a way to save face for its own personal, we'll say, honor. Because none of our kind want ourselves to be subjected to something like that. In fact, if it ever happened to me, I hope my entire sept, the entirety of the park, would come down on me and rip me limb from limb, just so that way I wouldn't have to exist in such a shameful state of being. Now, chases the storm, he made a call, and like I said, it was probably the right call. Because quite frankly, I was ready to walk into your little borough, your little area, the Bronx, your territory, and tear that entire place apart until we got to what we needed, until we got one of our people back. And if you have any protective instincts, let's say for your sake, maternal instincts, you probably understand that sentiment, right?
Hmm. I do. That's exactly why I decided to protect this creature. As it saw me as its family at that point, it recognized me as his alpha. I felt responsible for it at that point.
Hmm.
And that's why I decided to protect it. If that creature would have been taken over, trust me, I would have put it out of a misery myself.
That would have been a serious problem. It's one thing for its own kind to do it. It's quite another for someone outside to do it. But
At
that's a
that point,
cultural thing.
I was his kind. I was his alpha.
Jasper sort of raises his chin a bit and looks at her. You ain't never gonna be our kind. Let me explain something to you. That creature is related to us. And it's not just simply because it's a wolf, it's because it's bound to us in one way or another by family lines.
That doesn't matter at that point. To you it might be. To me, it was simply a creature that needed help. I provided it with help. I do not see that as wrong, especially not since it was discussed with one of your own, and we both agreed that this was the best solution.
It was a solution, and it's one that didn't lead to conflict. But the situation we have before us now, I'm still not too keen on as far as what you want out of it. I don't have any cause to send anybody into your little territory.
Oh, but it just keeps happening, doesn't it?
If individuals go there, be no different than if one of yours, against orders, or without orders, let's say, decided to waltz into the park. It'd be dealt with in kind.
Very well. That's fine. In that case, would you be kind enough as to remind your people that if they enter the Bronx again without any very special circumstances, without an invitation, that they will be dealt with as well?
Jasper chuckles and just shakes his head. Oh, sure, let him know that the big, bad, glorified... What's the term you people use for yourself?
That doesn't matter.
Well,
You
you
won't even
big...
give me your name, and you expect me to give any information.
whatever. You big,
Exactly.
bad, whatever you are, they'll deal with whoever walks in there. That's fair enough. One of my kind goes in there, you are free to deal with them however they want, but I'll warn you, they'll defend themselves.
I warn you, we will as well.
Jasper sort of takes a few steps to the right of Lily and just sort of stares at her. That a fact.
That is.
Tell me exactly what sort of aggressive notion, since our people have had this agreement, and he air quotes at that. What aggressive acts have they made towards you? How many people of yours have they slaughtered?
As many as you have slaughtered from our kind.
I'm not asking about over the world. I'm talking about right here in the city.
And I just gave you the answer.
Oh, so my kind have killed your kind then?
No, none have been killed. Not those I want to protect, nor those you want to protect.
Alright.
Look, half of my kind, I don't give a fuck about. But those who fall under my protection, those who live in the Bronx, all I'm saying is that I do not want your kind there. Not without invitation. And there better be a damn good reason before any of my kind will give that explanation, or I will kick them into Central Park myself. We'll have you deal with them.
I have to give it to you. You got spunk. But watch yourself. Watch your tone. I don't have any cause to send people up your way. Your territory, sort of below our notice, in a manner of speaking. We don't have any interest there. I don't think we're gonna have any interest there. Our only interest here in the city is Central Park. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of that by now.
I've once walked into Central Park. It was an interesting experience. And although I would love to do so again, I will respect your territory as you will mine.
Alright, respect. Fair enough. Like I said, no one under my orders is going to be sent out that way, and if you happen to find one of ours, go ahead and deal with them however you want.
Very well.
But I should make you aware that there are a few of my kind, in a manner of speaking, that aren't affiliated with us.
What kinds are those? I would hate to confuse.
Well, it's a complicated situation. Obviously, there are those that work in direct conflict with us. Those shouldn't be too hard to spot. Trust me. They are more akin to you than they do to us. And then there is this, as far as I know, only one of them. There are those that we call Ronin. come to my attention that at least one has made its way into the city. They aren't affiliated with any of us, or any of us as a whole throughout the world. They sort of do their own thing. I ain't gonna be held responsible for them.
I see. Well, if we catch one of your kind in our area, I will send Aaron probably a notification, and I'll let him seek out whether he belongs to your specific pack, troop, whatever you call it, or not. And likewise, we also have people that are not part of ours.
Just so that way where there's not any sort of misunderstandings in the future. If your people, whether they're affiliated with you or not, are caught in the park, there's only one fate for them. You understand that, right?
I've heard several threats.
It's not a threat, that's just how we deal with things. You seem to have an understanding of how wolf society in nature gets along, right?
I have a very broad idea of how nature works.
Alright
I
then.
was part of its creation.
Oh, hell. And he just pinches the bridge of his nose. Almost like like an atheist standing in front of a devout member of some sort of faith. He just sort of pinches the bridges of his nose and... Right. Okay. Someone who doesn't belong that's in the park with that invitation, at the very least, they're going to be sent hurt. Not necessarily dead, but hurt. If it gets past that point, if things go hairy, well, that's a whole different thing. So if one of your people ends up going missing, and you think they might have been in the park, why don't you call Aaron? So that way we can tell you if the remains belong to you or not.
Sure, I will. And by the way, as Lily is talking to you, let's say 4 stray cats just come and swirl around her legs.
Why not? Why not? It's so rare I get to roll dice with this guy anyway. Perception, primal urge. Praise Jeebus. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Okay. He's just gonna look at the cats with the raised brow, but beyond that, nothing really. So, that it? That all you got for me? Just wanted to come out here and shake your finger at someone with satisfaction?
I just wanted to make sure that there was an arrangement.
As far as I'm concerned, there is no reason that we need to have contact with each other. This is a non-issue for me. This is almost a waste of my time, but it's been informed to me that this means something to you people. And you happen to catch me on a night where, well, I don't have a whole lot of things. Thankfully.
Just make sure the message gets across to your people. Because we might have trouble taking out your elders. You might look down on us. You might see us as evil spirits. Be whatever. That does not mean we will not try. We will not kick those out who enter. Or
At
maybe we
the
keep them.
at the mention of taking out elders, and maybe we keep them.
She mentioned the younger ones. But sure, go ahead.
Jasper's face changes just slightly. Not much, but slightly. But he definitely looks a little bit more imposing as he takes a step forward at Lillian. Just gonna roll a little something right here. And depending on how many successes we get, if any, will depend on how this comes across. And how it gets roleplayed. Wow, that was really terrible. So he's going to come off as somewhat sarcastic, so depending on your courage roll, I guess. Depends on how imposing this will be, but for roleplay's sake, it seems like he's almost being sarcastic. But he basically leans forward, he's like, you really think you could take on some elders? Really?
I wanted to spend willpower on this, so... Ooh, yeah, sorry. That's with willpower is 3 successes.
You're unflapped.
And Lily's just gonna place her hands behind her head again. She's like, I never said I could take on an elder. I'm not an elder myself. I'm just a young one.
He, again, just kind of shakes his head. You in charge.
Hard to believe, isn't it? But that's where it is.
Well, nice to know that they don't have much going for them. Alright then.
Keep thinking that. That's fine.
You gotta watch that mouth.
I've heard that before. I'm trying. I'm doing my damnedest best to be the best polite person in the entire world. Yeah.
You gonna roll on that one, or is that absolutely true?
That's absolutely true. Lily is really trying to be polite. If you didn't notice that she does not say fuck or goddamn or whatever the entire time.
Unfortunately, he doesn't know her from a hole in the ground. I'm gonna have to just
if you want to roll your empathy on that.
I have to, just so that way he can tell if she's being sarcastic or not, because he actually has shit empathy. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what exactly is her meaning by that?
Well, she's actually, because she was telling the truth, and she's actually, basically, she has the feeling that she's doing her best to be polite and to be respectful and to show that although she does not, although she is respectful, she is still the leader of her group and that she's trying to protect them.
She trying to throw any bravado into that mix with that many successes?
Nope.
Okay, so she's not trying to put on a show at the moment.
No. She's absolutely, completely, 100% honest.
Jasper is going to look a little bit perplexed. And in his mind, he's not sure if she's either just that earnest, which is really rare, or if she's just a complete chowderhead. Because she does seem to have some knowledge of what Garou are. He's not used to being in a situation where people are not intimidated. So he'll just sort of scratch his head. Kids these days. So desensitized. Alright. You got anything else? Are you done?
No, I guess I'm kind of done.
Good. Jasper doesn't say anything at that point. He just lights up another cigarette and starts to walk away.
And Lily, if you should look behind Lily, is she's actually toying a little with those stray cats that she summoned, just petting them and handing out some of those cat candy things that she always has with her, and just generally give them some attention. They seem to really enjoy it. And after Jasper has disappeared, Lily will also walk back to the other demons, where she probably will have a lot of explaining to do. And we can end scene there.